Hey everyone, greetings from Brno, from our quarantined apartment here in South Moravia. We are looking at another month or so of this quarantine. I'm sure you're sick of it, I'm sick of it, but I'm here to talk about wine, of course, on this beautiful weekend. And I'm excited to talk today about Riesling, or as it's known here in South Moravia, Riesling, which translates essentially to Rhine Riesling. And Riesling is an incredible grape grown throughout the world. It has such a wide array of aromatics and expressions and textures and styles. I could talk about Riesling until the cows come home. I really love this grape. I'm not the only one that loves it. It is revered by many sommeliers and wine writers as one of the kings of the wine world, one of the most noble grape varieties. It's grown in Alsace, it's grown in Germany, where it claims its origins. It's grown here, of course, in the Czech Republic. It's grown in the US, it's grown in Canada, in Australia, and so many different expressions of this grape can really show the terroir, show the soils and the vineyard management techniques that go behind it. But today, I'm going to talk about Riesling from Kobylí, from Velké Pavlovice in South Moravia. And I wanted to show these two winemakers because they have such different styles. They're located down the road from each other. Of course, they know each other. Kobylí has maybe 1,000 people in the village. I think I went to high school with like 600 people. So we're looking at a really small area, small village in South Moravia. But what I like about these Rieslings, you've got the same vintage, but like I said, very different expressions, different winemaking methods, vinification methods, and different personalities emerging from the wine. And I love showing contrast, particularly when you have two grapes from the same area, same vintage, totally different styles, different colors. And I think it's just a great way to be able to taste wine and understand a little bit more about the grape. So you might notice actually something behind me today. My lovely neighbor, Petra, actually gifted me these posters a long time ago, maybe almost a year ago now. And I'm ashamed I've had them in my spare room for so long, but I thought, this would be a nice little touch. What I like about these posters, they're actually illustrations displaying each different aromatic quality you'll find in the grapes of South Moravia. So what a cool little unique expression of South Moravia, its grapes. And you can pick these up actually at the National Wine Salon in Valtice on their website. You can, I'm sure, order them. But yeah, so shout out to Petra. She knows I love wine, so it was really nice of her to give me these posters. So going into Riesling today from Kobylí, from Velké Pavlovice, I'm excited to talk about Vinařství Bukovský to start off. I'm going to hold the bottle up here. So if you've been following me on Instagram, I recently had a chat with Antonin Bukovský on my new wine series called Moravia Makes Wine. And Antonin has become a good friend of mine. I could literally see his vinoteca from my window. It's around the corner from my house. So at his vinoteca here in Brno City Center, he sells exclusively wines from his winery located in Kobylí. And Antonin Bukovský and his brother and his family, they farm about just over 20 hectares of lands in Kobylí. They make maybe 15 to 20 different grape varieties. They grow 15 to 20 different grape varieties in this region. So they really have a wide array of wines and different styles, from sweet and dry to rosés to reds. So they kind of make something for everyone, and I really appreciate that. Their wines are also fantastic prices. So if you can, take a look at their website. I'll list it here. They'll be posting their e-shop in the next couple days too. So you'd be able to order wines through them directly, get them delivered to your door. So Antonin Bukovský, like I said, has become a close friend of mine. He's really what a gentleman, super good winemaker, and a musician at that. He plays the violin, and quite well, I might add. And his passion is music, and of course, wine with music. So what goes better together, right? So in my chat with Antonin the other day on my series, Moravia Makes Wine, he talked to me a little bit about the winery and the different grapes that they plant and their intention. And their intention is to make floral and fruity, varietal-driven styles of wine that are done using more traditional methods. Of course, his wines are filtered and clarified, so there's none of the natural wine element going into his wines. But what I like about his wines, they're a great representation of South Moravia and that fruit-driven character you can find in the white wines, particularly in the aromatic grape varieties like Riesling. So, going into his Riesling Grinsky today, 2017, the wine is dry. There's just about 5 grams of residual sugar in the wine, so it is not a sweeter style of Riesling. However, if you get your hands on sweet Riesling, give me a call because that is my jam. I love some honeyed Riesling. But this one is dry, which I can also very much appreciate. So the wine has a pale lemon color. There's no cloudiness or haziness in the wine. The wine's clear, star bright. And just so fruit driven. There's apricot and nectarine and a lot of stone fruit, a little bit of peach and citrus. More like a pink grapefruit and lemon. There's a slight underlying grassy mineral note to it too. What's interesting about Kobylí, this small village in South Moravia, is that at one point in the history of our planet, there was a sea. And now, of course, that sea is gone. But what it left behind is a soil rich in fossils and shells and all of this sediment that has remained for thousands of years. And what that does, it translates to the vines this essence of minerality that's very unique to the region. And so this underlying mineral saline quality is certainly found in this particular Riesling. But just so clean and vibrant and fresh and refreshing. Kind of the perfect Sunday brunch style of wine. Let's give it a taste. Just so juicy and plump. The wine is not heavy. It's not so oily or rich. It's got a real clean acidity, about a medium body to it. A lot of citrus character. You can see my cheeks kind of getting pursed in a bit. And that's from the acid in Riesling. Riesling can provide that high acidity in wines. So matched with a little bit of sugar, that acidity kind of corners your mouth in. So it's not this cloying acidity. You still have this brightness and this lift on the finish. But such a refreshing, fruity, like I said, this lemony finish. That's such a lovely, refreshing wine. Really perfect. If I was to have Eggs Benedict and this wine side by side, I would be in heaven. I wouldn't pair this with anything too sweet. I would actually stay on the more savory, kind of salty side of things. I don't think something sweet would really match up to the wine. I think it might kill the flavors of the wine. But even something as simple as like a flavored popcorn or something with some salt on it, I think would just be an absolute treat. But lots of fruity, fresh, aromatic character, a touch of grassiness too on the finish. Not quite as grassy as a Sauvignon Blanc, not as potent as that, but still that vibrant, fresh, grassy, lemony character is just absolutely perfect. And a great expression of Riesling here in South Moravia. And so happy I have met and spoken at length with Tonyček, with Antonin Bukovský. He's a sweetheart. He's got my heart. I love this guy. Great winemaker and an all-around great person. So once this Vinoteca wine bar, once it opens back up, Millie, I will be your first customer. So Millie was one of the first people I met here in South Moravia. She has worked at the Vinoteca now for over 5 years, and she's just a doll, and I'm so excited to have the relationships with these people here in South Moravia that can talk to me about their wines and get me drinking the good stuff that they like. So awesome. Delicious wine, Antonin. Thumbs up on your Riesling. Going into the next wine, which is a totally different beast than Vinařství Bukovsky's floral and fresh and vibrant Riesling, is Čačík Winery, one of my favorites in Kobylí. So Čačík Vinařství is located in Kobylí, like I said, just down the road from Antonin's winery. Zdena Čačíková is the winemaker here. She is a powerhouse. She does everything. She drives that tractor every day. She tends to her vines like they're her babies. She has 2 girls as well. She works her butt off at her winery. And she is an inspiration to me and to many winemakers and wine appreciators and wine lovers here in South Moravia. Čačík Winery has much smaller amounts of lands than Antonin. She farms just a few hectares of land on 3 different plots. Her Riesling is grown on the Padielki plot, which is on a sloped hill, south-facing sloped hill in Kobylí. And I had the immense pleasure of meeting Zdena a few months ago with my friend Hedda. Hedda helped come and translate for me. And I love these wines. Čačík focuses on natural wines. So there's no filtration, there's no clarification in the wine. The wine is literally pressed, put into a barrel or a vessel, a concrete vessel or stainless steel, and that's it. So you are going to notice a bit of cloudiness and haziness on the wine. It is totally normal. It is an attribute of natural wine. And if you live in the UK, you can actually buy Čačík wines through Basket Press Wines. I'll list the website here. I have been a huge fan of Basket Press since I found out about them on Instagram. They've been doing these great live interviews with different winemakers in South Moravia, and they've got the handle on some delicious South Moravian wine. So chapeau, hats off to you, Basket Press, for finding Zdena Čačíkova's winery and importing her wine, getting more people to love Moravian wine. So going into her Riesling Kobylské, I'll hold the bottle up again, 2017, Čačík only makes dry wines. There is no sweet wine in her winery. And like I said, no filtration, no clarification on these wines. It is a true expression of Riesling through and through. So I'm gonna hold the color up. It has a slightly deeper lemon color than Bukovsky's. Obviously, with that extended skin contact and no filtration, it's going to lead to a slightly deeper color. But there is a slight cloudiness to the wine, of course, totally normal. This is a natural wine. Zdena's late husband, Tomáš, was integral in the start of the Authentique Moravia movement, this natural wine movement. And he, alongside with a few other winemakers in the region, created this Authentique Moravia movement focusing on natural wines, traditional techniques, and they've been really successful with what they've done. That's actually where I met Zdena for the first time at Authentique Fest last summer. Going into her Riesling, though, this wine is just alive. It is spicy and racy and all up in my face. There's notes of like a spiced pineapple, like a rum raisin note to it as well. And chamomile and cardamom, very, very floral. And apple and pear. I mean, this wine is really all over the place in the absolute best way, but that spicy note is really coming through. And not a spice from oak. That is a spice from the grape, but it's not a cinnamon sweet spice element. That is truly chamomile and cardamom, a bit of coriander. But really, like, you took all of those spices and put them all over some pineapple and baked it. It's absolutely delicious. Let's give it a taste. So, just so plump and juicy, and the acid's about medium plus, but this, I can't get over this tea, this chamomile tea, cardamom note to it on the palate. So floral and so expressive. I've never had a Riesling like this before, honestly. Most Rieslings I have are fruity and apricot, and particularly the ones of South Moravia. But this spice character is just out of this world. It is delicious. We're looking at a wine that's 13.5% alcohol, and it's not super high in alcohol. There's a small dose of residual sugar in here, maybe under a gram and a half, something like that. But just so textured and so specific to Čačík to make these wines that are, like I said, racy and exciting and so different than the norm. But absolutely great examples of the extent that Riesling can produce in an area that is literally, they're down the road from each other in Kobylí, making completely different styles of wine. Such a great expression of South Moravia. I'm so happy I live here. I'm so happy my feet are on the ground for the next 2 years here in the region. I am thrilled to be able to talk about these wines and show a bit about what Moravia can do. I don't think that Moravia gets enough credit. And so that being said, there is some news too. One of the Chardonnays from South Moravia, from Valleyrack Winery, just won Chardonnay du Monde's top award. So Chardonnay from South Moravia also is delicious. I showed Chardonnay last week on my episode. And so I'm thrilled that these winemakers are entering their wines into competitions and winning and taking home gold medals. They deserve it. If you want to follow a bit more about Moravia and meet some of the winemakers, at least virtually during this quarantine, follow me on Instagram. I've been doing this Moravia Makes Wine series. Next week, I've got some tricks up my sleeve. I'll be interviewing Špalek Vinařství, Ilias Vinařství, Sonberg Vinařství, and Vinařství Václav. So I've got 4 top wineries on my videos for next week. So stay tuned. Try to drink a little wine. It helps, at least it helps me kind of take everything into perspective. Remember what my mission is. My mission is wine and wine education. I love talking about it. It's my life. So that being said, cheers from Brno. I hope everyone is staying safe. I wish everyone a lovely Easter weekend and see you soon. Cheers from Brno and cheers to Riesling.